Coming to you from the Oddball Podcast Studios in New York City. My name is Vin Forte, and you're listening to Oddball with Vin Forte. Go follow the show over on social media, specifically on Twitter, or I guess it's now X. I'm off 1 week, and now the whole platform has changed. I'm still going. We're gonna call it Twitter, right? Like nobody's calling it X. Go on Twitter at Oddball Podcast. Follow the personal account at Mighty Vin. Follow me over on Instagram at Vin Forte NYC. If you're only listening on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get the podcast, there's a video element now, so you're missing out on half the show, I guess. Half the show, 3/4 of the show, whatever you're missing out on. Go subscribe right now over on youtube.com/@Oddball Podcast. That's the @Oddball Podcast over on YouTube. Best way to help out the show, best way to help me out, and vice versa. If you're only watching on YouTube, go subscribe to the pod on Apple, Spotify. Well, I used to say Stitcher, but no longer Stitcher. Stitcher is not a factor anymore, apparently. Stitcher has gone belly up, so no longer on Stitcher. Get it on Google Play or Amazon Audible. I don't know. You know where to get podcasts. I say it every week. You know where to get podcasts from because you're listening or watching one right now. Now, some behind-the-scenes business. Obviously, I was off last week. Great timing, though. If you're going to be off, the middle of August is not the worst time to do so. So, why was I off? If you follow me on social media, you may have already known. But life sometimes gets in the way. The background you see right now of all the wood grain, that's going to go bye-bye soon because I am moving. I'm going from one apartment to another because that's just the way sometimes these things go. The house I am in that I rent my apartment from, the landlord is moving and selling, so I have to be out by the end of September. So the past 2 weeks I've kind of been scrambling to find a new place. Funny thing is, though, I did find a new place, and according to Google Maps, it is literally 150 feet away from my current apartment. So that's going to be a real interesting move when the movers come. Like, okay, where are we taking this stuff? I just point, like, right there. There. That house, look behind you. That house, there. Move it right there. Don't even bring the truck. Just walk it across the street. So that's what's going on in my life. I'm going to record a couple episodes to, maybe pad out the rest of the month so I don't have to miss any more episodes. I don't like doing that. But, it is what it is. That's why I'm telling you now. So that that the next couple of weeks might be a little hectic. But again, if you're going to take any time off, August is the month to do so. So I'm not too concerned. But, we roll on. We acquiesce to the moment. And we move forward. Shout out to Black Wrestling Pod. I do Bulls in the China Shop over there with Mike Sempervive of Wrestling Observer Live, and obviously Cal as well, and Math, and shout out to Fam and all those guys. They sent over this hat, the special hat. Look at that, the Bulls logo on the side. I don't know if you can see with the cans on. I'll move it. There we go. It's trademarked right there. The official BRP Bulls logo. Do not sue. Do not C&D. Math made these himself, so thank you very much. Okay, with all that out of the way, we do have a show to do, and I do have a reward for you for sticking through this extremely long preamble. We've got not one, but two cool-down segments today, both food-related. I know you'll love it, so we've got that to get to. But before we get into any of that, we absolutely have to get into these knuckleheads. The New York Mets. My New York Mets. Got a Mets hat sitting like 2 feet away from me I could put on right now. But I'm not going to go ahead and do that. This is not the season to be showcasing that you're a Mets fan, quite frankly. As you can see on the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, Mets GM Billy Epler is saying, this is not a rebuild. This is not a fire sale or liquidation. It's a, quote, repurposing. If you followed baseball this past week, Even if you haven't followed baseball, this will be relevant in a moment, I promise. But if you do, you know that the New York Mets won 101 games last season, came into this season with all the wind at their sails, made some big acquisitions, brought in Justin Verlander from the Astros, re-signed Max Scherzer, spent the most money of basically any team in modern sports history. Steve Cohen, he's got the goods, he's got the cash. The money is going to get you out of these kinds of situations. But you do that at the expense of building up your farm system. At least that's the way it would have been if the Wilpons were still in charge. If the Wilpons were in charge, you go out and get a guy like Verlander, you're going to stick with him. Well, Wilpons aren't in charge. Different story this year. Mets are not in a great place. They're like, 8 games out from the wild card right now? Not great. Not what you want after coming off a 101 win season. So by the trade deadline, they did a, quote, repurposing. I don't like that word. Call it what it is. It is a fire sale. I know they don't like to say it, but they got rid of Scherzer. They got rid of David Robertson. They got rid of Justin Verlander, which that was the most fun of all of them, because I love in the social media age when someone leaves a team on Instagram and Twitter, they got to put that thank you, Justin Verlander, for your service. The guy was here 5 friggin' minutes. Goes here 5 minutes. I know he's doing better now. He's a little rusty earlier in the season, coming off a Cy Young year. You hoped he would be a little better. You could make the argument that, and certainly Mets fans have, that you should have kept him right now. There's questions now about what Pete Alonso is thinking as his free agency comes up, I believe next year, or even if it's the year after. You've got a GM now that has come out and said defiantly that we are, or at least he told Max Scherzer, and now Max Scherzer has told the press before he left that Billy Epler told him, so it is a game of telephone here, that this is a genuine rebuild, that it's going to be quick. It's not going to be like a 5-6 year rebuild, but that they're looking towards 25, 26 the earliest. Not so much 2024, certainly not this year, where, and I'm not on board with this, but some Mets fans have said that, if they really went on a run in the next 2 months, they could sneak into the wild card. Okay, you could sneak into the wild card theoretically. You're not mathematically eliminated. But then you'd really have to get hot. You'd really have to go on a sweetheart run. And basically, I say all of this to reiterate something that I've talked about before, which is the money can only buy you so much success. It's true. It really, the money can get you in the door. The money can get you into the playoffs a lot of the time. But once you're there, you got to actually win. You got to produce. And when you get to the playoffs, you're talking about a whole other caliber of needing to be effective, a whole other caliber of needing to step up. And you can't buy that. You can buy people who, on the average, and certainly this is where analytics comes in baseball right now, where they look at certain players and they go, okay, this guy's good for this many innings, this many hits. You put him in the bullpen. Pitchers especially, he's good for 7 innings, then we got to take him out. But we know he's good, based on his track record. We've crunched the numbers. This guy is, 90% of the time good for this many innings. Okay, that's over 162 game season or whatever. But then when you get to the playoffs, that all goes out the window. How many times have we heard that? It's the analytics are great. They work, but the reason the Yankees keep losing in the playoffs is because, the analytics, it's a crapshoot when you get to the playoffs. Okay, well, if it's a crapshoot when you get to the playoffs, should we be thinking of a new way of doing things? That's why, for all the foibles that this Mets team has gone through, I am not upset with what they have done here. I'm not going to kill him for it. Yeah, Steve Cohen came out initially when he bought the team and said, I want to win in the next, 5 years. This is a 5-year plan, baby. We're going to win. We're getting to a World Series. Didn't happen, isn't going to happen. But would you rather him double down on that and now be like, no, we're going to dig our heels in and keep the guys we have and not trade assets to get back farm prospects? See, this is how the money can actually get you out of these situations. This is where having the money, this is sort of like the exception to the rule. The money can't buy you into the World Series. But if you're savvy, I guess that, you can make the argument that the savviness, either goes hand in hand with the money, or you could separate it from the money altogether. But it's, if you're savvy enough to know what to do with the money and build up your farm system, build up your prospects, then you get to be what the Braves are right now. You get to be what the Dodgers are, what the Orioles have become. Orioles sucked for a long time. And look at them right now. And people are saying they're going to be good for years and years and years, hopefully. And the Mets are hoping. There's no guarantee. But they're taking the slow and steady bet, the more sure bet, that when we replenish this farm team and we're able to bring guys up, get them reps, that, okay, next year may be a wash. Maybe, if Ohtani becomes available in the offseason, then the Mets can actually go for him. Who's to say they're not going to back the Brinks truck up? But let's say for the sake of argument, they've decided that next year is just going to be a wash. Would you rather have a team go out there that competes, but is just not going to get over that hump because they've sunk too much money into older players who just keep getting injured? Or would you rather watch a team that is going to still be not great, but you're going to be able to watch these prospects come into their own? They're not going to win every night, but it's going to be very interesting. It's going to even be, dare I say, fun to watch this team coalesce and come into its own. I would pick the latter. Again, with the caveat of that we know where it's going. Again, anything's possible. Whole thing could fall apart a year and a half from now for whatever reason. A million different reasons, actually. But they're erring on the side of prudence in this case. And I can't say that that's the worst decision in the world. I really can't. So it's just an interesting time right now where we've got this example in baseball of, this owner in Steve Cohen. And I've talked about him before, where he's willing to spend the money. He's willing to go. That's what you want in an owner. Like, you want, for all the Mets blunders this year and for all of their misgivings, the one thing you hear Mets fans go back to is, well, at least we have an owner who will spend, because he spent you into this situation and he's going to try and spend you out of it. And the way he's spending you out of it, by investing more in prospects and getting the Astros' number one farm, prospects back for sending Verlander back to them. That's a smart move. It's not a sexy move. These are not sexy moves that the Mets are making. Again, it's not like Ohtani came. It's not like Shohei Ohtani came on the market and all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're bringing in a ringer. No, this is not that. This is them, again, making the prudent move. So I ask you, do you think they made the right move? I think they did make the right move. Let me know, again, on Twitter or X. I really hate it. You have no idea the rage I felt the other day, and I'm not the only one, because I knew it was coming. But it really hit me when the actual app on the phone changed. That's when it really hit me. When it was like, oh, this is an X. Because here's the thing. I knew it was coming. And a lot of you, younger people probably knew it was coming as well. So what I want to know is if you're someone who didn't know it was coming, like if you're a little older, maybe you're the type, you don't check the app that often, you're doing other things, you didn't hear that they were switching to X. Now all of a sudden you look at your phone, you're like, how's this X? Did I download like a porn app or something? No, it's just Twitter, or what Twitter was. So interesting times for Twitter. As I take a big sip, because again we record this live, and interesting times for the Mets. Maybe they'll overlap. Maybe their fortunes, in a weird way, are of the same ilk. Possibly. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me on that. My apologies. But it is hot, hot, hot here today in New York. It was nice and cool last week. It finally broke. All summer. It's been a bad summer here. I know it's been a bad summer around the country. But it finally broke the other day. It was a big rainstorm. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And then, boom. It was hot, hot, hot again. Shout out to fellow Staten Island native Buster Poindexter. But right now, we're going to get back into it. We're going to talk a little bit of soccer, or as people outside the U.S. call it, football. With Lionel Messi joining Inter Miami. Now, again, this may seem like not a big deal to you if you don't follow soccer. But if you have any inkling about soccer on the world stage, you know that Messi's the man. He's the guy in terms of world sports right now. Whether you personally give a flying F about soccer or not, Messi is one of the top sports stars in the world today. But my question, or my whole bugaboo with this, is everyone's heralding his arrival. And yes, he is still great, but he is a man in his late 30s who has played soccer his entire life. This is his retirement tour. He's checking out. This is like when Beckham came over. This is like when Wayne Rooney came over a couple of years ago. These guys come over and they have their retirement tour, where they see the MLS as a quote lesser league, and they take the big paycheck. And every single time something like this happens, they go, well, this is going to bolster the sport. Look at the ratings. Yeah, ratings are great. Or whatever you consider ratings for, Apple TV and their MLS, season pass thing. I just started this past year. But for sake of argument, colloquially call it ratings. Ratings are high. Attendance is high. Yeah, people want to see Messi. Especially when he plays, over in France or in Europe. Like, you don't get to see him too often in the U.S., so of course people are going to go gaga for Messi. And especially right now when the League Cup tournament is going on, to insert him right into the middle of that and plop him right into Inter Milan, a team that is not very good, and to give them this huge boost of energy, it's a great story. There's no doubt about it. But I want to know, how long is this hype going to last? Because again, he's not a young man. Not to be ageist, but this is probably his last go about. It's not like we got Mbappe. Like, that would be different. If we got Kylian Mbappe, the guy who's young, who already has World Cup experience and has won and has this great pedigree, but again, he's also a young man, basically just hitting his prime, which is kind of wild to say given all the accolades he's already accomplished. That to me would be a big deal. But I think the Messi thing is, I'm not gonna say overhyped, because again, there is a Messi effect here. Like I said, you get a star from one of these bigger leagues, Premier League, any of the Euro leagues, Bundesliga even, you're going to get an influx of people who are interested. And people have even made the argument that, soccer in America eventually will be the next sport up. Now, I think people are a little more realistic now than when they said it, 20, 30 years ago. people were saying by like, oh, the year by 1990, soccer is going to overtake. No, it's not. No, it's not. The way the machinations work here in America, there's just too much going on for soccer to make some true headway. But with the world more of a world stage, with people having access to soccer, with more kids getting into soccer, with MLS, having their grand expansion in the past couple of years, certainly helping with the rise of women's soccer and the ratings that they get, and they do get ratings. Don't believe the haters on that. There is an outside chance that soccer could become a dominant sport, but I think what hinders it is that we keep bringing in these guys that are, again, not past their prime, but who see this as a big payday and a retirement tour. Because, okay, you've got Messi in Inter Milan. So let's say he plays, let's be real generous and say 5 years. Okay, that's a nice run. But when you look back at Messi's career, are people going to highlight the fact that he was in MLS? Or are they going to, see it more as a footnote, like, oh, he did all this stuff, and then in his last 5 years, he was in the MLS? Because that's what I think is going to happen. Again, it's not like getting a guy like Mbappe, or even having homegrown stars. The MLS, not for nothing, needs to do a lot better job at creating storylines. And not creating, but it's the same problem we talk about, with baseball. And baseball has actually done a pretty good job of stepping up to the plate, no pun intended, and identifying storylines and sort of focusing in on them through social media, through, video content. Yes, even TikTok content. Meeting people where they are. And I don't think MLS does a good job of that. And especially this year, where now there's a big sort of paywall involved, I think they kind of took a step back. Which is weird to say, because I was the one saying a while back that, okay, if you are going to be a league that cuts a deal with one of these services, at the very least, cut it with one service, unlike what baseball does, where it's like you got a game on Apple, you got Yankees on Prime, you got stuff going, you got to buy cable package for Yes, like some games on Fox, some games on ESPN. It's all over the place. So that's a different problem. But I think, I think it's just the wrong service, quite frankly. Like, Apple TV is not as established as, let's say, an Amazon Prime. Like, Amazon Prime, they had that, and granted, it's just the one Thursday night football game a week. But in the past 2 seasons, they've made it kind of a destination. Now, people still joke about it that, okay, the games, by and large, you get a lot of duds, but, people talk about those games when they happen. You hear Amazon Prime and, the people involved talk about how, X millions of people watch this game on Amazon Prime, because a lot of people have Amazon Prime. It'd be like if it was on Netflix. A lot of people already have Netflix. When you've got something where it's like, okay, Apple TV is trying to build something that's not there yet, and the MLS season pass is trying to build something that's not quite there yet. You put them together, and they're hoping that they can help each other, but it's like neither side has the juice to help the other. So what you get is what's going on right now, where they are thanking their lucky stars that Messi came along, because they have not released any numbers about how they're doing. And I think that's by design, because I don't think they're doing that well. Whereas, again, if they were on, if they made some blockbuster deal with Netflix or a deal with Amazon Prime, I think Amazon Prime especially would have rolled out the red carpet. You'd see ads all over Amazon Prime, and it's something that people already use, so it'd be more apt to check it out. Yeah, it's all about the delivery service. It's all about how you finesse, how you frame something. It's all about the sizzle. You can make a great steak, but if you don't got the sizzle, you're not going to draw people in. You're going to draw a crowd. And I think that's what's going on with MLS. I feel like Messi, for as great as he is kind of a symptom of that right now. Or he's, just another example in a long line of people who have come over here to sort of give some juice to MLS. And I think, okay, you'll get it for a little bit. You'll get some short-term juice out of it. But in the long run, I don't know if you're gonna get it. I could be proven wrong. I'd like to be proven wrong. I don't like, making a prediction like, oh yeah, MLS, season pass is gonna go the way of the dodo. So I hope it's successful. I hope they can move forward and do what they need to do to become successful. Now, speaking of people who are already successful, Mr. LeBron James, Jeannie Buss did an interview recently where she mentioned that LeBron James's jersey is going to be retired. He's going to get a retirement ceremony in LA. And there's been a lot of discussion on social media this past week and a half about people going, well, does he really deserve it? And to me, yeah. Yeah, he's been there for a little while now. He got them a championship. He became the all-time scoring leader on their watch. That's not nothing. And I think this goes back to something I've talked about before, which is I think we simultaneously put a little too much emphasis on while also devaluing in other ways the idea of winning a championship. Right? So we're of the generation right now where there are definitely some people out there who just like to count rings. And you know me, I don't do that, but some people do that. They go, well, this guy's got more rings than this guy, so this guy's better. Which obviously is not fair, but, whatever, it is what it is. But what that does, inadvertently, is it discounts the fact that winning one championship is hard. There are whole franchises out there that either haven't won anything in like 40 years or just haven't won anything, period, who would love to have one championship. And then there are franchises, like the Lakers, where if they go for a long stretch without winning a championship, it's like, come on, where's the gold? What are we doing here? We're not living up to what we're supposed to be. And I think some people look back at, let's assume for a second he plays the next couple of years in LA, doesn't win anything else. He just won that one championship in 2020, 2021, whatever. I think if he had won it outside the bubble, there would be more people. I don't think it's fair, but the reality of it is I think there would be more people who would go, oh yeah, no, when he won that championship, he stamped his legacy in LA. But because it was in the bubble, unfortunately, you're always going to have the haters out there that are like, well, it's a Mickey Mouse title. You won it in a bubble. Bleh. And if you've been listening to this pod for a while, you know my line on that, which is, oh, okay, well, why didn't your team win? Oh, you were in the bubble too. Why didn't you win that championship? If LeBron, and AD weren't all that year, what was stopping you from winning? So, yeah, and people throw out the arguments. Well, we had all that time off, and LeBron, he's got all this money, so he can keep in shape during that time. BS. That is the biggest load of BS. Even the player on the edge of the bench still makes more money than most people listening to this will make in several years' time. So that is not a good argument to me. It's not an argument at all that I will accept. That the NBA players, they're not LeBron. Not everyone's LeBron, so they couldn't keep themselves in shape. Come on, really? We're going to throw that argument out there. So, bottom line, it's a legitimate championship. Going off of that rubric and accepting that for what it is, accepting the fact that a championship is hard to come by, I think he has earned his place in Lakers history. And now look, there are other people who very recently have been inducted or, have had their jerseys retired. Pau Gasol. There are some people out there who think Pau Gasol should not have had his number, retired and his jersey raised to the rafters. I'm not one of them. I think, you look back at those two championships and he was basically the missing piece to that championship puzzle that Kobe was looking for. So, yeah, Kobe certainly gets the lion's share of the credit, but you don't get that championship without Pau Gasol. And he got you two. He helped get you two. So he's there. I think LeBron, he only got you one, at least as of right now. But I think one is enough. If you come to Tinseltown with the express purpose of getting this town a championship, and you fulfill on that promise, I think you're at least in the conversation. You're at least in the conversation of having your number retired, your jersey put up. I don't think Genie Bus is off base on this. Again, now you can make an argument. I think the more interesting argument, someone, I forget who, but there were a couple people on Twitter this week who brought up now Anthony Davis, big man on campus, just got one of the biggest extensions in NBA history. Anthony Davis, to steal an expression from Charles Barkley, was not exactly driving the bus during that championship. It was the best he had been. He was clearly the number 2 on that team to LeBron. But, we look at that Lakers team even today, and we kind of go, okay, LeBron at a certain point, you could tell wanted to, hand the baton off to Anthony Davis and go, this is your team now, kid. And that moment just never happened. So even though Anthony Davis, you couldn't have gotten that championship without him, I think there's a little more contention there than with LeBron, because I think to a lot of people, he never took the team as his own at that point. He never grabbed the baton from LeBron. And God, I don't like that rhymed, but whatever, it is what it is. We move on. So I think there's going to be more contention there if they don't win another championship than with LeBron. So that's my take on it. Again, hit me up on social media, @MightyVin. Let me know what you think. And as promised, we're going to move on to one of 2 cooldown segments today, because I love you that much. And the first one is Domino's Pizza has recently announced that they will now deliver pizza basically anywhere in your area. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, the picture I have is a guy, they did a stunt, I think it was in England before an Elton John concert, where it was like, to celebrate the Rocket Man, we've got our own Rocket Man. And it's a guy with like a Domino's jetpack. It's more to just illustrate the point that they'll go anywhere. But whatever. Basically what they're doing is they've got their Domino's tracker. They were one of the first people to get on the app bandwagon, where it's like, okay, you can put something on your phone that tracks your pizza. Brilliant, great. Now they're taking it to the logical conclusion, the final frontier, if you will, for pizza delivery, where wherever you are in your area, if you're having a picnic in the park, if you're doing something shady that you're not supposed to be doing out in a warehouse somewhere, you can pinpoint your location on the app, and they will deliver a pizza to you. You can be walking down the street and just stop and go, you know what? I'm going to take a break. Deliver me a pizza right here, right now. They will now do it. And I don't know how I feel about that. as someone who appreciates hard work and making a living, and we've all had jobs like this before. Pizza delivery person, for example. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like there should be boundaries. You know what I mean? Like, you deliver to a legitimate house or business, cool. That's fair game. You pinpoint your location, and now someone's gotta like deliver a pizza to the middle of a cemetery that you're hanging out in. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. You stopped off at the porno store on the way home, and you're like, you know what? I got a hankering for a big pepperoni pizza right now, so I'm just gonna sit in my car outside this porno store, and you're gonna deliver me a pizza. I don't know if I can get on board with that. Certainly, going into the middle of the woods, I don't like. Now, maybe there are rules in place where it's like, hey, we're not going to deliver, to the middle of a park. But they seem to be promising that. They seem to kind of be promising the world on this. That, like, you can, like, you thought you can just get a pizza delivered to your house or apartment? Well, think again. You can get it anywhere now. So, I'm just more curious what you think about this one. Again, hit me up at MightyVin on Twitter, at Vin Forte NYC when this clip goes up on Instagram, because I just kind of don't know how I feel about this one. Again, I get it; it's cool technology. In practice, or in theory rather, it is interesting. You're out with friends, you're at a party somewhere. Hey, we can just order pizza and know that it can be delivered to where we are. But in practice, I think it's going to get really weird. So, again, don't know, the jury's out on how I feel about this. Jury is not out, however, on the real cheeseburger. This is why you got to subscribe on YouTube. YouTube.com/@Oddball Podcast. Because you got to see this. This is in Thailand. This is the real cheeseburger. And as you can see on your screen, it is 20 slices of what looks like grade A American cheese just on a bun. And you see the sort of promo shot of the burger, quote unquote burger. And then the burger in practice, with someone having already taken a huge bite out of it. And I think we can all agree this is dumb. And again, if you've listened to this podcast for a while now, you know that I like to rag on Burger King, because they truly are the kings of dumb stunt, gimmick, whatever you want to call it, one-off fast food items. Because they'll just think of anything, and then for like a week, be like, for a week only, we got 20 slices of American cheese on a burger. With no burger. It's the real cheeseburger. We'll call it the real cheeseburger. Boom. Ship it out. And then jerks like me talk about it. And they get free press. But I always like to make the argument with that free press. It's like, I get, no publicity, any publicity is good publicity in theory. But how many times do we have to say, no? Nope. How many times do we have to say nope to what Burger King is doing? You fool us once, shame on us. See some weird Whopper they introduce that's infused with Worcestershire sauce or something, and you think, okay, interesting, I'll try it. Then boom, they got to do a recall because it's turning people's BMs a weird color. Okay, fool me twice, Burger King, for your real cheeseburger. And you're selling your nug. Remember when they sold all their chicken nuggets? Like 10 for $1 or something? That's how you know you got bad nuggets. That's how you know you got like zebra meat in those nuggets. When you're selling like 10 of them, you're just selling them off liquidation style. And this feels exactly like that. where it's like, hey, we got all this excess cheese from the cheeseburgers. What are we gonna do with it? Oh, we got these extra buns too. Let's just put it on a bun. And we'll call it the real cheeseburger. Get it? Because it's all cheese. Just eat a friggin' block of cheese on a bun. Would you eat this? Would you let someone you love eat this? I don't think so. Again, let me know. Maybe I'm the idiot. Maybe this is like the most delicious thing in the world. Maybe it's like I'm just not seeing it. Maybe I don't see the vision. Maybe to me, I'm thinking like, when you eat a cheese sandwich and it's got like 4 slices of cheese on it, you're like, oh man, that's too much cheese. But you put, you cross the Rubicon and you go up to 20 slices of cheese. Now it's like, oh, this is something, you know what? 4 slices was not great, but once you hit 20, it turns into a whole different experience. Maybe I'm the idiot. Tell me if I'm the idiot. Follow me on social media. Tell me what you think of the real cheeseburger, Domino's delivery, LeBron, the Mets, Messi, MLS, all of it. At Mighty Vin over on Twitter, at Oddball Podcast on Twitter as well to follow the account. YouTube.com/ at Oddball Podcast. Subscribe on YouTube. And then also the audio portion of the podcast, wherever you get your fine podcasts from. And with all that said, like I said, it's going to be a real interesting couple of weeks. So it's why you got to follow on social media, because I'll keep you abreast of what's going on. And then, once things get settled next month, we've got a lot of really interesting things coming up that I think you're really going to enjoy. So, stay tuned. Got some fun stuff coming up. Tell your friends. Go, like I said, follow over on YouTube. And with all that said, I'll see you back here. Same time, same place. Next week. I promise. You've been listening to Oddball Vin Forte. My name is Vin Forte. Bye-bye.